The intent of this video is to teach a very complicated system called the 4-3-3 formation in soccer so that kids can understand it. So it's not going to be as detailed as it gets. And I'm showing it to you in the video at home, a little bit of homework, so that we can spend more time at practice doing more fun things, learning more games and more skills that we're supposed to do. So sit back and learn all the different things that you will need to know to be a successful soccer player in a regular 4-3-3 formation. So the 4 in 4-4-3 means there are 4 defenders in the field. The 3 means there are 3 midfielders. And the second 3, you guessed it, 3 forwards. All right? So that's why it's called a 4-3-3. There's lots and lots of systems. Some common ones are 4-2-4s or 4-4-2s. Most often you'll see 4 defenders. Why? Because your backs are the most important position in the game. And believe it or not, these are often your best players. If you don't believe me, look at what happened this year in the World Cup. The Men's World Cup, Brazil was one of the final 4 teams out of 32 teams. They were playing against Germany, a quality team. One of their best players in the back, one of their backs couldn't play. I think he had penalties or something. So there was another person in there, and these 4 never really played well together during the game. And they gave up a tremendous amount of goals. There was 5 in, 6 or 22 minutes or something like that. But they gave up 7 goals in a World Cup semifinal game, which has never happened before. And it was quite embarrassing for the host country. And it just goes to show you that backs are extremely important. Obviously, you have to have people who can score, people who can move the ball around. There's your basic skills. But if you get played as a back, that doesn't mean you're not good. In fact, it means you're very good. All right? No matter where you play, you're important to the team. So here's your 4 positions in backs. You have your left back, and your left back is primarily what we're going to call marking whoever on the opposite team is carrying the ball down this side. If it's a midfielder, if it's a winger or a forward, and they're bringing the ball down here, the job of the left back is to go attack them. It's called marking. And ideally, you want to get the ball away from them. Take the ball away and move it up to somebody in front of you. Or, if that doesn't work, you want them to pass the ball off to somebody else on their team. Now, unfortunately, sometimes they're going to get around you. And if that happens, well, we have someone who can help take care of that situation. So your right back, same thing, but you're on the right side of the field. If they're carrying the ball down here, then you go get it from them. Okay? If you're the center back, then you will be more or less lining up here for most of the play, and your job is to mark the person carrying the ball down the middle. Center back's a pretty important position because, especially for kids, a lot of teams will be bringing that ball attacking down the middle. More advanced teams, like we're going to try to do, will be attacking from the wings. But it's really important that this person gets out there right away and tries to take the ball away from that center forward, bringing it down. Now, what happens if one of these 3 players doesn't stop the ball? Well, it's going to be left to the sweeper. The sweeper is the most important position on defense. And that person basically backs up these 3. If you see the ball's coming down here, the sweeper is going to kind of move over here. Now, as other defenders come down, that's when the center back and left back are going to mark them if they don't have the ball. They're going to stand next to them. They're going to stand between them and the ball to try to make sure it can't get passed to them. And the sweeper just kind of supports. The sweeper has to really have a good eye for the game. They may have to come over if the ball's going to get around the right back and take it away from whoever's bringing it down. Or they might have to come over if someone's coming down here and the center back doesn't pick them up. Or maybe they flood and they have a lot of people coming down and there's an open spot. The left's taking this one, the center's taking this one, then the sweeper has to go over here. We'll show you what these look like in practice situations, but that's basically the job of the sweeper. You're the last man. You don't want the ball to get towards our keeper here. So do everything you can to prevent that. And guess what? The sweeper's got to run a lot and fast, back and forth, covering passes, covering people, looking all around, up and down. It's a very active position, very important. All right, backs. Your area of play, as you can see, is in the defensive half of the field. And for the most part, this is where you're going to stay the whole time. Obviously, if they're pushing forward, then you need to be back here. If we are up here doing a good job moving the ball around, trying to score, then by all means go right up to that half line. Center back, you'll come right up here, and then that means the striker is going to kind of hang out in this area, maybe patrolling back and forth, spotting the ball. And that's it. Now, if you ever feel like you've got an opportunity to come up here, you're moving the ball as a left back, and there's nobody up here to pass to, and there's no defenders, there's no reason why you can't move up into this zone a little bit and try to center the ball. It won't happen very often. It's called a situation. And in situational play, somebody else, one of our midfielders usually, is going to take your place over here because we never want this spot to be vacated. So if you do vacate it, because it's going to work towards our offensive advantage, then we need this person to come over here and cover for them. And again, we'll practice that during practice. All right, that brings us up to our midfielders as we move towards our opponent's goal. And I hope you figured that out from the very beginning. This is our keeper, and we want to score over here. Should have said that earlier, but anyway. Pretty much the same way we did this last year, except now we have an extra midfielder. Last year we only had two, and I called them rovers. And it's pretty much the same thing. You've got a right midfielder. Their job is to help support bringing the ball up here. They're going to take the ball from one of the backs, and they're going to look to pass it to either one of their other midfielders or one of the forwards as it moves up. It's not really the midfielder's jobs to come running up and try and score. If there's nobody here, there's no defenders, and you've got the ball, be my guest, run up and try and score. But for the most part, you will probably be marked by one of the defenders, at which point you'll have to give the ball up. Usually to a forward, but if they're covered, you can give it back to one of your other midfielders or even back to one of your backs. We'll be showing you that in practice too. Left midfielder, same thing, but on the left side. Okay? And what we'll be trying to do this year is have these two really be the catalyst in the attack, moving it up to these wingers who will then move it up further and then finally center the ball for either our striker or one of the other midfielders possibly to score. Okay? And the center midfielder is kind of like another defender. They will play a little bit more back like the backs, but they can also very easily get involved in the offense, moving things up, passing off, taking shots. All right? And occasionally you right and left midfielders, I may ask you to come back and help on defense if they're getting outnumbered. And we'll go over that in practice and we'll see what it looks like. Okay? So, and your center midfielder in a lot of games is kind of like your quarterback. They are most often the person bringing the ball up, showing or deciding what to do with it, whether to carry it in themselves, whether to pass it off. So it's another very important position on the field. Not that they're all important, but anyway. And the range of you midfielders is pretty much all over the field. The lefts, we want you to stay on this side. Rights on this side. Center, you're going to try to stay in the middle between these two hash marks. And like we said earlier, you could try to score. You might be called upon to come back and help on defense. So guess what? You're going to be running a lot too. Good luck. Which finally brings us to our forwards. Now we have a right wing, and I put them way over here on the right because I want to stress the fact that we really want to, when we're bringing the ball up, I want it to be a right wing or a left winger, and I really want them close to the outside. Not so close to the touchline that you're going to kick it out of bounds easily, but maybe 2 or 3 yards away from it to try to stretch the defense as much as possible. So your job is to receive the ball from probably a midfielder, maybe a defender, and bring it up. And once you get about this area, you're going to center that ball. You're going to look for our sweeper, who's moving in here, or the left wing, who's going to cheat in over here. Maybe some of these midfielders are going to come in too. You're going to send that ball over. Boom. Score. Okay? So striker, most of the time you will not be bringing the ball up. Sometimes you will. If it's looking like you're open here and one of these people pass it to you and you can move up, you can move up. But for most teams, this is where their concentration of defenders is going to be. And it's not going to be easy for you to kick it up. And a lot of times what happens with kids playing the game is the striker will come up, try to score, ball gets taken away from them almost every single time. So we'll be working on that again in practice. These two moving up as far as they can and then centering the ball for somebody else on the other side to score. Okay? Okay. And your forwards, your zone is pretty much the offensive side of the half. There might be a time or two when I'm going to ask somebody to come up and help on defense. Maybe if there's a corner kick going on down here. But we'll practice that. We'll let you know when that happens. Most of the time, you're waiting here for the ball, you're waiting here, or you're waiting here to move up. Okay? That's it. We'll go over some other things a little, excuse me, a little later on, and just really try your best to memorize where these positions are, where you're supposed to be, and because you're often, for me, you're going to be playing a lot of these different positions, especially at the beginning of the season. Once you really get settled in and I discover that your strength is in one particular area, I might keep you there more than other places, but I'm still going to try to let you get out to all the positions you want to play as much as we can throughout the year. All right, no quiz on this, just do your best. Try to remember these positions. Watch the video again if you have to. Oh my gosh, how long has it been? Anyway. All right, that's it. Coach Kyle out.